if this message found you, it may not be random. There's a quiet reason you're here right now, listening to these words, not loud, not obvious, but real. And something inside you already feels it. Maybe it's subtle, a small shift in your chest, a pause in your thoughts, a feeling you can't fully explain. Stay with me, because this may matter more than you think. You might have noticed lately, something feels different, not wrong, not exactly bad, just different. Like the world is moving the same, but you're not quite moving with it in the same way anymore. Things that once made sense feel distant. People you once connected with feel harder to reach. Even your own thoughts seem to echo in a new way. And maybe you've been asking yourself quietly, why do I feel like this? You're not imagining it. Something is shifting, not outside first, but inside you. And when that happens, it can feel confusing before it feels clear, because growth doesn't always announce itself with joy. Sometimes it begins with discomfort, a gentle unease, a quiet restlessness, a sense that something is ending, even if you don't know what yet. But listen carefully, this isn't happening to break you. It may be happening to guide you. You might feel like you're losing something, but in truth, you could be making space for something stronger, something clearer, something that actually belongs to who you're becoming. And this is where the message becomes important, because you're not going through this alone. There is a presence, calm, steady, watchful, not loud, not overwhelming, but deeply protective. Archangel Michael is often felt not through noise, but through strength, a quiet strength, the kind that doesn't panic when things feel uncertain, the kind that doesn't rush, but knows exactly when to act. And if this message reached you, there's a chance you're being reminded of that strength now, not outside you, but within you. You may have been underestimating yourself lately, questioning your decisions, doubting your direction, feeling like you need constant signs to know what to do next. But what if the sign isn't something you see? What if it's something you feel? That quiet pull inside you, that moment when something just feels right, even without proof. That may not be random. That may be guidance. And right now, you're being asked to trust it a little more. Not blindly, not recklessly, but gently. Because something in your life may be trying to realign. And alignment doesn't always feel comfortable at first. It can feel like distance, like silence, like things slowing down when you expected them to move faster. But sometimes slowing down is protection. Sometimes delays are direction. And sometimes what feels like a pause is actually preparation. Stay with me, because this next part matters. You may have been holding on to something longer than you needed to. A situation, a connection, an idea of how things should be, not because it's right, but because it's familiar. And letting go of familiar things, even when they don't feel right anymore, can be one of the hardest things to do. But here's the truth most people don't say clearly. Not everything that stays is meant to stay forever. And not everything that leaves is a loss. Some things leave you because they've already given you what you needed, the lesson, the growth, the awareness. And keeping them longer than necessary only creates resistance. That tension you feel, that quiet discomfort, it may not be something going wrong. It may be something trying to move while you're still holding it still. And that's where guidance comes in, not to force you, not to push you, but to remind you. You're allowed to release what no longer fits. You're allowed to choose peace over confusion, clarity over attachment. Even if it feels uncertain at first, you don't have to have everything figured out right now. You just need to be willing to listen. And if this message resonates with you, even a little, you can take a moment and simply acknowledge it. Some people choose to comment, amen, not as a rule, but as a way of saying, I hear this. And if you want more messages like this, you can stay connected, only if it feels right to you. Because nothing here is about pressure, it's about awareness. Now listen closely, because something deeper is unfolding. You may have been searching for answers in places that can't fully give them, looking for clarity from people, and when the real clarity needs to come from within. And that's not easy, because trusting yourself especially after doubt takes courage. But here's what you might not realize yet. You've already been guided through more than you give yourself credit for. Think back. Moments where things didn't go as planned, but later made sense. Times when something ended, but opened a better path. You didn't see it at the time, but you were still guided. And you still are. The difference now is awareness. You're starting to notice it. That quiet knowing, that subtle feeling, that inner voice that doesn't shout, but doesn't disappear either. That's not something to ignore. That's something to understand, because guidance doesn't always come as clear instructions. Sometimes it comes as a feeling you can't shake, a thought that returns gently again and again, a sense that you need to move even if you don't know where yet. And when that happens, you don't need to rush. You just need to be honest with yourself. What feels aligned? What feels forced? What gives you peace, even if it's unfamiliar? And what drains you, even if it's comfortable? These questions matter more than you think, because your life isn't meant to be built on what's easy. It's meant to be built on what's true, and truth doesn't always come loudly. Sometimes it whispers, and you're being asked to listen a little closer now. You may feel like something is ending or changing or shifting in a way you didn't expect. But this isn't the end of something meaningful. It may be the beginning of something more aligned, something that actually fits who you are becoming, not who you used to be. And that transition can feel strange, because growth often asks you to leave behind versions of yourself that once felt safe. But you're not losing yourself. You're refining yourself. And that process requires patience. Not everything needs to be solved today. Not everything needs to be understood immediately. Some things unfold step by step. And your role right now isn't to control every step. It's to stay aware as they happen. Because the more present you are, the clearer things become. You might notice small signs, not dramatic ones, not overwhelming ones, just small moments that feel right. A conversation that shifts your perspective, a thought that suddenly makes sense, a feeling of calm where there used to be confusion. These are not accidents. They're part of the alignment. And the more you notice them, the more they seem to appear, because awareness changes everything. You stop forcing, you stop chasing, you start recognizing. And that's when things begin to flow differently, not perfectly, but more naturally. And right now, you're being guided toward that flow. You don't need to fight it. You don't need to question every step. You just need to stay open, because something positive may already be moving towards you, not in a dramatic, overwhelming way, but in a steady, grounded, real way. And when it arrives, it won't feel chaotic. It will feel calm, like something finally makes sense again, like you can breathe a little easier, like you don't have to force things anymore. That's the kind of shift that lasts. Not temporary excitement, but lasting clarity. And you're closer to that than you think, even if it doesn't feel like it yet. So if today feels uncertain, if your thoughts feel heavier than usual, if your direction feels unclear, don't assume something is wrong. It may just mean something is rearranging, quietly, carefully, in a way you can't fully see yet, but you will. And when you do, it will make more sense than it does right now. Until then, stay grounded, stay aware, trust the small signals, because they often lead to the biggest changes. And remember this. You're not being left behind. You're being redirected. You're not losing your path. You're refining it. And you're not alone in this process. There is guidance. There is protection. There is a steady presence reminding you that you're capable of more than you feel in this moment. So take a breath, not because everything is perfect, but because something is moving in the right direction. And in the coming days, you may start to notice it more clearly. A shift in your thoughts, a sense of calm where there was tension, a small moment that feels meaningful. Don't ignore those moments. They're not random. They're part of something aligning just for you. And when it happens, you won't need to question it. You'll feel it quietly, clearly, and that will be enough. And when that quiet clarity begins to settle in, you may notice something else, a kind of strength that doesn't need to prove itself. Not loud, not forceful, just steady. The kind of strength that doesn't rush into every situation. The kind that knows when to step forward and when to simply observe. This is the energy you are being guided toward, because not every battle is meant to be fought, and not every situation deserves your reaction. You may have spent a long time trying to fix things, trying to understand everything, trying to hold everything together. But now, something inside you may be saying, maybe I don't need to carry all of this anymore. And that thought matters more than you think, because releasing weight is not weakness, it's wisdom. You are not here to carry what was never yours. You're not here to solve every problem around you. You are here to grow, to learn, and to move forward in a way that feels true. And sometimes moving forward means stepping back, letting things be, allowing people to choose their own paths, even if you don't fully understand them, because not everything is yours to control. And the sooner you accept that, the lighter everything begins to feel. Stay with me. When this part may shift how you see things, there may be someone or something that still occupies your thoughts, not constantly, but enough to pull your energy away from the present moment. It could be a past situation, an unresolved feeling, a question that never got a clear answer. And part of you may still be waiting for closure, waiting for clarity, waiting for something to finally make sense. But what if closure isn't something you receive? What if it's something you create, not by forcing answers, but by choosing peace, even without them? Because sometimes the absence of clarity is the clarity. Sometimes silence is the answer. And holding on to unanswered questions only keeps you tied to something that may already be finished. You don't need every explanation to move forward. You don't need every detail to heal. You just need to decide that your peace matters more than your need to understand everything. And that decision changes everything. Because the moment you choose peace, you stop chasing what's not meant to stay, and you start aligning with what is. You may feel a shift after that, subtle at first, like something loosens inside you, like a weight you didn't realize you were carrying begins to lift. And in that space, something new can enter, not immediately, not all at once, but gradually, naturally, in a way that feels right. And this is where trust becomes important, not blind trust, but quiet trust, the kind that doesn't demand immediate results, but believes that something meaningful is unfolding, even when you can't fully see it yet. You've been through moments before where things didn't make sense, where the path felt unclear, and yet you moved through them. You found your way step by step. This moment is no different. It may feel uncertain now, but it is not without direction. You are being guided, even in the quiet, even in the pauses, even in the moments where nothing seems to be happening, because sometimes the most important changes happen beneath the surface, where you can't see them right away, but you feel them slowly reshaping your thoughts, your reactions, your choices, until one day you respond differently, you think differently, you choose differently, and that's when you realize something has changed, not around you first, but within you, and that inner change begins to affect everything else, the way you handle situations, the way you see people, the way you respond to challenges. You become calmer, clearer, more grounded, not because life became easier, but because you became stronger. And that strength is not something you need to announce. It shows quietly in your actions, in your patience, in your ability to walk away from what doesn't align without needing to explain yourself. That is growth, real growth, and you are already stepping into it, even if you don't fully recognize it yet. So don't rush this process. Don't force answers that aren't ready to appear. Let things unfold. Let clarity come naturally, because it will at the right time, in the right way. And when it does, it will feel simple, not complicated, not confusing, just clear, like something finally clicks into place. And you'll realize you didn't need to chase it. You just needed to become ready for it. Now, here's something important to remember. as you move forward. Not everything that comes into your life next will look dramatic. In fact, the most meaningful changes often feel quiet. A new mindset, a new perspective, a new sense of calm. These are the shifts that last, not temporary highs, but steady, lasting clarity. So pay attention to the small things, the way your thoughts begin to change, the way certain things stop bothering you, the way you feel more at peace, even without external changes. These are signs, not loud ones, but real ones. And the more you notice them, the more you realize you are moving in the right direction, even if it doesn't look like it from the outside. And that's okay, because your journey isn't meant to look like everyone else's. It's meant to feel right to you. So trust that feeling, even when it's quiet, even when it's uncertain, because that quiet feeling is often where the truth lives. And as you continue forward, you may start to feel something you haven't felt in a while. A sense of ease, not because everything is perfect, but because you're no longer resisting what is. You're allowing things to be as they are. And that acceptance brings peace, real peace, the kind that doesn't depend on everything going your way, the kind that stays even when things are still unfolding. And that's when you know you're no longer just reacting to life. You're moving with it in alignment, in awareness and quiet confidence. So wherever you are right now, whether things feel clear or uncertain, light or heavy, know this: you're not stuck. You're not lost. You're in a moment of transition. And transitions are not meant to feel permanent. They are meant to move you from one phase to another. And you are already moving. Even if it's slow, even if it's subtle, it is happening. So give yourself permission to trust the process a little more, to release the need to control every outcome, to simply be present and aware as things unfold, because the path ahead is not something you need to force. It is something you will recognize step by step, moment by moment, choice by choice. And when you look back at this time, you may realize something surprising. This moment, the one that felt uncertain, was actually the moment everything began to shift, quietly, gently, but powerfully, and you were guided through it the entire time. So stay open, stay aware, and most importantly, stay connected to that quiet voice within you, because it knows more than you think, and it's leading you exactly where you need to go. And as you keep moving forward, even slowly, even quietly, there may come a moment where you pause and realize something unexpected. You're not reacting the way you used to. Something that once would have disturbed your peace that now feels easier to let go of. Something that once held your attention for hours now passes through your mind to itself without staying. And in that moment, you might ask yourself, when did this change? But the truth is, it didn't happen all at once. It happened in small, almost invisible steps. Every time you chose not to overthink. Every time you stepped back instead of forcing a response. Every time you listen to that quiet inner voice instead of the noise around you. That's how transformation really works. Not in one big moment, but in many small choices that slowly reshape who you are. And right now, you are in the middle of that transformation, not at the beginning, not at the end, but in the part where things start to become real, where growth stops being just an idea and starts showing up in how you live, how you feel, how you respond. And this is where many people get confused, because this stage doesn't always feel exciting. It feels calm. It feels steady. Sometimes it even feels a little empty, but that emptiness is not a bad thing. It's space. Space where old patterns used to live. Space where constant noise used to exist. Space where confusion once stayed. And now that space is open, which means something new can finally enter. But here's the part most people miss. You don't need to rush to fill that space. You don't need to immediately replace what you've let go of, because not every space is meant to be filled right away. Some spaces are meant to breathe, to expand, to give you room to fully step into who you're becoming without distraction. Stay with me, because this may shift your perspective even more. There may be moments ahead where you feel tested again, not in a harsh way, but in a subtle way. A situation that feels familiar. A person who triggers an old reaction, a thought that tries to pull you back into old patterns. And in that moment, you'll have a choice. Not a loud, dramatic choice, but a quiet one. Do you respond the way you used to, or do you choose differently, even if it feels unfamiliar? And that choice, right there, is where your new path becomes real, because growth is not proven when everything is easy. It's revealed in the moments where you could go back, but choose not to. And you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to get it right every time. You just have to be aware enough to notice the difference, to catch yourself, even if it's after the moment has passed, because awareness is what creates change, not perfection. So be patient with yourself. This is not about becoming someone else overnight. It's about becoming more of who you truly are over time. And that takes consistency, gentle consistency, the kind that doesn't judge mistakes but learns from them, the kind that doesn't rush progress but trusts it. And as you continue, you may begin to feel something new, a quiet confidence, not loud, not showy, but steady. The kind of confidence that doesn't need approval, the kind that doesn't depend on everything going perfectly. It comes from knowing that no matter what happens, you can handle it. You've handled things before. You've made it through moments that once felt overwhelming, and now you carry that strength with you, even if you don't always think about it. It's there, and it's growing. Now, there's something else you may start to notice. Your energy becomes more valuable to you. You become more selective, not in a judgmental way, but in a clear way. You start to recognize what drains you out, and what supports you, what feels heavy, and what feels light. And instead of forcing yourself to tolerate everything, you begin to choose more carefully where you place your time, your attention, your presence. And that's not selfish. That's alignment, because your energy is not unlimited. And where you place it shapes your experience. So protecting it matters, not through isolation, but through awareness, through choice, through understanding what truly deserves your time and what doesn't. And the more you honor that, the more your life begins to feel balanced, not perfect, but aligned. And that alignment creates a kind of peace that doesn't depend on external validation. It comes from within, from knowing you are moving in a direction that feels true. And that feeling is something no one else can give you. It's something you build through your own awareness, through your own choices, through your own willingness to trust the process, even when it's not fully clear. So if things feel slower right now, if life feels quieter than usual, if you feel like you're in between phases, don't rush out of it. This in-between space is where clarity forms, where strength builds, where direction becomes real, even before you can see it clearly. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where you need to be for this moment of your journey. And what comes next will meet you there, not before, not too late, but at the right time. So keep going, keep listening, keep choosing awareness over reaction, clarity over confusion, peace over pressure, because these small choices are shaping something bigger than you can see right now. And soon, you may begin to notice a shift that feels undeniable, not forced, not imagined, but real. A moment where something aligns, where a decision feels clear, where a path feels open, where a sense of direction returns naturally. And when that moment comes, you won't need confirmation. You'll feel it calmly, clearly, without doubt. And you'll realize you were never as lost as you thought. You were simply being guided step by step into something more aligned. So take a breath, not because everything is finished, but because something meaningful is unfolding, something steady, something real, something that's been building quietly beneath the surface this entire time. And you are ready for it, more ready than you think. Just stay open and let it arrive. And when it does arrive, it may not look the way you once imagined. It may be simpler, quieter, more grounded than anything you expected. And at first, you might almost overlook it because part of you has been used to looking for something bigger, something louder, something that feels like a sudden breakthrough, but real alignment rarely announces itself that way. It feels natural, like something that fits without needing to be forced, like a decision that feels right, even if it doesn't impress anyone else, like a path that feels steady, even if it's not the most exciting at first. And this is where trust deepens, because now it's not about waiting for a sign. It's about recognizing that the clarity you've been seeking is already here, in your awareness, in your choices, in the way you feel when something is aligned and versus when it isn't. And the more you listen to that, the clearer everything becomes. You stop second-guessing every step. You stop looking outside for constant confirmation. You begin to move with a quiet certainty, not because you know everything, but because you trust yourself enough to figure it out as you go. And that trust changes everything, because once you trust yourself, you stop settling for what doesn't feel right. You stop staying in places that drain you. You stop holding on to things that no longer match your energy. And instead, you begin to choose differently, more consciously, more intentionally, more in alignment with who you are now, not who you used to be. And that shift may start to reflect in your life in subtle ways. Conversations feel different, decisions feel clearer, your time feels more valuable, even your silence feels more powerful, because you no longer feel the need to fill every moment or explain every choice. And you begin to understand something deeper. Not everything needs to be shared. Not everything needs to be proven. Some things are meant to be experienced quietly, felt deeply within you. And that quiet understanding, it becomes your foundation. So when challenges appear, as they naturally will, you respond differently. You don't react from old patterns. You pause, you observe, you choose. And that space between reaction and response is where your power lives now. That's where clarity lives. That's where peace begins to grow. Even in situations that once felt overwhelming, and over time, that way of being becomes natural. Not something you have to think about, but something you simply are. Calm, aware, grounded. And from that place, you begin to attract different experiences, not by force, not by trying, but by alignment. Because when your energy shifts, your reality follows. People who match your clarity begin to enter your life. Opportunities that align with your direction begin to appear. Situations that once confused you no longer hold the same power. And this doesn't happen overnight, but it happens. Gradually, naturally, in a way that feels real, not rushed. And one day, you may look back and barely recognize the version of you that once felt so uncertain, not because that version was weak, but because you've grown beyond it. You've learned, you've adjusted, you've become more aware of who you are and what truly matters to you, and that awareness becomes your anchor. So no matter what changes around you, you remain steady, not stuck, but grounded, able to move without losing yourself, able to adapt without compromising your truth. And that is a kind of freedom that can't be taken from you. It's built from within, step by step, choice by choice, moment by moment. So if you're still in a place where things feel uncertain, if you're still waiting for that clarity to fully settle in, don't lose patience now. You're closer than you think. What you're feeling is not confusion without purpose. It's transition. It's refinement. It's the process of becoming more aligned with your true direction. And that process takes time, but it's worth it, because what's being built within you right now is not temporary. It's not fragile. It's something steady, something lasting, something real. So keep going, even if the steps feel small, even if the progress feels slow, because every moment of awareness is moving you forward. Every time you choose peace over pressure, clarity over confusion, truth over comfort, you're stepping closer to the life that actually fits you. And that life is not as far away as it once seemed. It's forming right now in ways you can't fully see yet, but you can feel it. That quiet sense that something is changing, that something is aligning, that something is beginning. to make sense. Hold on to that feeling, not tightly, but gently. Let it guide you without forcing it, because the more you trust it, the stronger it becomes. And soon, what once felt uncertain will feel clear. What once felt heavy will feel lighter.